Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hey, this is Matthew from Wayne County, North Carolina, and I had a question about one of the things you mention in a lot of your videos is about how you always try to avoid an us versus them mentality due to the extreme the extreme slope that leads to a lot of times. And I was wondering, I've been struggling with that, and I wanted to ask, how do you do that? Like, how do you reconcile with, avoiding that kind of mentality? Since I have family who would suffer horribly if they got like COVID due to health conditions they have. And so when I see like Republicans in the right wing talking about, anti-vax nonsense and that kind of thing, it's hard for me to not want to hate them due to the knowledge that their ideas would like literally kill some of my family. And so I was just wondering, like, how do you take that into account and still just be fine with avoiding like the us versus them mentality? Thank you and bye.
Let me summarize the question. Basically, I try to avoid an us versus them mentality. I try to avoid an ends justify the means mentality. Those are extreme mentalities. Those are like, that's moving in an extreme direction, right? And the caller rightly asked, how can I justify doing that when these people literally want us dead? Like, how can I say no violence under any circumstances when these people are literally trying to get us killed? And the answer to that question is kind of complicated. There is something called the trolley problem. I'm sure you guys probably heard it before. Basically, there's a trolley coming down the tracks, and you're standing at a lever, and on one side of the tracks, if you pull the lever to the left, then there's one person on the track that will die. If you pull the lever to the right, there are 5 people on the tracks that will die. So what do? Most people will pull the lever to kill the one person. Some people won't touch it at all because touching it makes it their responsibility. And whatever happens, happens, but it wasn't because of anything that they did. That's kind of a weird and interesting way to look at it. Here's another. There's a doctor that has a perfectly healthy patient on his operating table and 5 sick patients in the waiting room. One patient needs a set of lungs, one patient needs a new liver, one needs a new kidney, so on and so forth. He could kill the healthy one and give his organs to those 5 people and save 5 lives, right? The doctor never does that, though. We see that rightly as morally reprehensible to kill one person to save 5 people in that circumstance, right? That's because it's an ends justify the means mentality. That's what that is. The doctor doesn't believe that saving 5 people in that case would be worth murdering one in cold blood. We don't want to live in a society where we could be that one person who is healthy, who the doctor would take out to save the other 5. We don't want to live in a society that we have to fear in that way. That is why I don't subscribe to an ends justify the means mentality or an us versus them mentality more broadly, because I don't want to live in a society where those things exist, and I have to prevent myself from falling into that mindset because I've been there before. I've had that mindset before, and I don't want to, quote-unquote, relapse into something like that again. I don't want to relapse into having an us versus them attitude against anybody. That's why I avoid those extremist lines of thought at all costs. In my opinion, unless you're defending yourself, there is Never a reason never a reason for violence. Ever. Never. And I mean that. There may be room for nuance in there for some people, but not for me. Because I had to fight and struggle to get out of that mindset in the first place, and I finally battled my way out by leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, and here I am. I'm not going down that path again. Violence is, in every circumstance, unless you're defending yourself, unjustified. The same goes for an us versus them mentality, or an ends justify the means mentality.
Hey, Owen, it's Dan from Florida. I was having a bit of a difficult question. I've been looking a lot more into the religion of Islam, and I've noticed that a lot of its tenets are very, very violent, and I have quite a few friends, I talk to online and some in person that are Muslim, and I don't really know exactly how to kind of separate that ideology from that, because it's very heinous sometimes, and I'm not exactly sure what to kind of do about that. I know there's a lot of Islamophobia here in the United States, and I don't want to be a dick about it, but I don't really know exactly what to do about that. So if you had any advice, that'd be really helpful.
Islam as a religion is terribly destructive, at least as destructive as Christianity, if not more so. But I do recognize that there is some level of quote-unquote Islamophobia, although I'm not really happy with that term. I would prefer the term Muslimophobia. It's just it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. Every country has their immigration problems that they use as a weapon politically. In the U.S., they use the immigration of Mexicans into the U.S. as a political weapon. They demonize people from Mexico as evil and bad and have all these bad attributes about them and blah, blah, blah. In the UK, they have a lot of immigration from Muslim countries, from Middle Eastern countries. And as a result, you see the same kind of demonization in the UK over Muslims, not over Islam, but Muslims, that you see in the US against Mexicans. And for that reason, I think we should all recognize the gravity of Muslim phobia, or Islamophobia as some people call it. It does get pretty fucked up. It gets really, really bad. Disgusting, reprehensible disrespect for people for no other reason than because of their religion or their race. It's wrong. Islamophobia is wrong. But we shouldn't let that get in the way of criticizing a genuinely destructive religion. We just have to be aware of the fact that some people are mistreated and fight against that at all costs. We cannot allow or put up with people attacking others because of their religion or their race or anything else. But I don't think that... I think it would be wrong to not address Islam as a religion. We definitely should be. The reason I don't address Islam is because I feel like it touches my life in basically no way at all in the U.S. Islam has such a small effect on the U.S. and the U.S. population and politics and society that it almost doesn't matter to me or the people around me in our lives in any way. That's not the case for everybody. There are a lot of people out there who are very adversely affected by Islam, and I support people who want to talk about it and pull it apart and dissect it and point out all the problems that it has. I support that. But that's not my battle, because it's not my problem that I deal with on a daily basis. I deal with right-wing Christian extremists because they are affecting my life directly. So anyway, that's my take on it.
Hi, Owen. This is C, and I was just curious regarding witnesses and why they're so weirdly, I wasn't going to say divided, but coming from a witness family myself, my parents personally have no issues with Girl Scout cookies, and for some reason, my coworker who is a witness, like the second I so much as said anything about Girl Scout cookies and trying to buy them, she immediately just went on my ass. So I looked it up, and it said something about neutrality, which I think is complete bullshit, because what's buying cookies violating neutrality? And my parents are pretty preemie, and I don't think they are aware of the whole thing with the Girl Scout cookies, and personally I prefer to keep it that way.
Just for reference, they just said my parents are pretty preemie, I believe, if I heard correctly. That means my parents are pretty invested in the religion, physically in and mentally in, trapped in the religion. Let's keep listening.
For as long as possible. So could you possibly explain in further detail what the hell is up with witnesses and Girl Scout cookies? All right, thanks.
Yeah, this is one of those things that varies from congregation to congregation. When I was in the religion, different issues took precedence over others in different congregations. So in my congregation, they were okay with playing Pokemon, but they weren't okay with reading Harry Potter books. They were not okay in my congregation with Girl Scout cookies, incidentally. Some congregations are okay with it, others are not. Mine was not. When you're trapped in this mindset that's being imposed upon you by people, this strict order, this, you're being forced to follow the directions of everybody around you, and you're kind of being molded into a clone. You look for other ways to reach out and find individuality. That's why you find some congregations vary on little, trivial, inconsequential things. Because it's these people trying to find some level of individuality of their own without actually violating the rules. In my mom's case, she was a massive Girl Scout cookie fan. Fucking loved those things. But she wouldn't tell anybody. She'd just buy them in secret and eat them in secret because she believed that they're just fucking cookies. Like I said, it depends on the congregation. They will come up with justifications for hating something if they really want to.